On Sunday, Donald Trump lawyer Alina Habba appeared on Fox News alongside former Republican representative, now Fox News host, Jason Chaffetz, where Alina Habba ended up spouting a bunch of Russian talking points and, unlike the podcasters, that we discovered last week, Alina Habba didn't even get paid for it. I mean, honest to God, that's the most embarrassing part of this is, hey, the other guys were getting paid $100,000 per episode, and you're out here doing this nonsense for free. So here is Alina Habba sticking up for Russia by downplaying what we learned last week with the DOJ indictments. Here she is.
Alina Habba. Alina, thanks so much for joining us. It's not just that the Department of Justice is saying, oh, Russia, Russia, Russia again. I don't know that I trust them because they've spun this in such a way to push the voters in the past that these people are all for Donald Trump. And it's just, I don't know that I trust them. What about you?
You're asking me if I trust the Department of Justice. I represent Donald Trump. There's nobody who's been more persecuted in the last 3.5 years in an attempt to interfere in the election, I assure you, Jason. So, no, I'm not going to comment on that. I think my answer is pretty clear. But let's talk about what they are doing. It's so obvious. So the story is now that there's a criminal investigation about a $10 million payment to two individuals who had no idea that they were being backed by a company that eventually allegedly had ties to Russia. Okay, so in 2016, what happened? There was the Russia, Russia, Russia hoax. The media peddled a story that we now know was funded by members of the DNC, their lawyers. Hillary Clinton was involved in all of this. We know that because she had to pay a fine for doing so. And it wasn't talked about after, even though we had a damning Durham report, even though we saw the Mueller investigation and wasted so much taxpayer dollars. So here we are, less than 60 days out of an election, Jason, and guess what? A $10 million payment to some podcasters who had no idea from some ties allegedly to Russia is now going to try and make a spin on Russia backing Trump. Well, the last I heard, Putin announced that he was backing Kamala Harris and her, quote, infectious laugh. So, the narrative, the left narrative, it's disturbing to me. I think Americans really need to be wary about where they get their news. And that's why, frankly, I trust, you and others that I know will get the right news out there.
So both Habba and Chaffetz there are undermining what was actually in that DOJ indictment. I actually spent a lot of time on Monday reading through various different stories that analyzed the indictments and, of course, included pieces of the indictments. In all the pieces of this puzzle, it's not a mystery, okay? Alina Habba's out there saying, well, this is kind of speculative. We don't know what happened. The company allegedly has ties to Russia. The money was coming from two RT people, okay? There's no question that it was coming from Russian state-owned media that paid 90% of the U.S. company Tenet Media's, made up 90% of their whole budget. So you're sitting there acting like, well, I can't trust the DOJ, blah, blah, blah. It's all there in black and white, Alina, if you actually took the time to read the indictment. Or, again, you could just read an article about it. And you're acting like, oh, please, $100,000 per podcast. That is ridiculous. They got paid. That part is also indisputable. We also know, based on the indictment, again, Alina, God bless it, I am begging you to read anything, just read something. But in the indictment, it talks about the fact that the two RT people who, of course, have been indicted would send talking points like, hey, this is what we want them to say. This is the angle we want them to take on this issue, would send it to the media company. The media company would then reach out to the podcasters and be like, hey, anybody willing to say this or take this angle on this story? She'd get an email back from one of the podcasters saying, yeah, okay, that sounds good. I'll do that. I agree with that angle. They'd put out their episode. They'd get to their $100,000 and Russia would get their talking points that, they would then try to make viral. But none of these segments actually really did well at all. Either way, they paid. They sent the talking points. It's all right there in the indictment that Alina Habba is downplaying on national news, acting like, it's no big deal, right? The bigger deal, she says, was the Durham report. Are you kidding me? At least Robert Mueller did indict people. Like, people went to jail because of Robert Mueller. The investigation by Mueller actually pulled in more money than it spent. The Durham report, nobody got indicted. Or I should say, nobody went to jail. Like, no of the recommendations, none of it stuck. All of it was BS. So she's downplaying the real thing and then playing up the nothing burger. And Jason Chaffetz's right there with her going along with it, and neither of them getting paid from Russia to do it. So it kind of leads me to believe, like, hey, Russia, did you overpay for useful idiots? Did you not realize, Putin, that there's dumbasses here in the United States willing to say the things you want them to say for absolutely $0? I mean, you kind of got ripped off on that deal, I'll be honest with you. But it is what it is. Alina Habba's out there saying, oh, Russia's not so bad, don't worry about them. No. The real threat, of course, is the Democrats weaponizing the federal government, blah, blah, blah. No, it's all there, once again, in black and white in that indictment. If you would take just a few minutes, I'm begging you, to read the document, maybe you'll realize that, oops, I'm saying the same crap these idiots said, and I'm not even getting paid for it. Hi, everyone. This here is little Athena. And Athena would like to know why you haven't subscribed to Fair and Balanced yet. So please, don't let Athena down. Subscribe today.